You know what? Cut this music off, man. Cut this music off. Bump the music. Let's get straight to the point here about Keith One Time Thurman. Right? Keith One Time Thurman. Man, it is so much that's been in the news, you guys, that's been going on about us wanting this fight between Keith Thurman and Errol Spence Jr. But it seems as though we got a lot of issues or excuses that's coming up on why we can't get this fight. I mean, I got a problem with that. And the reason why I got a problem with that is because a lot of people expected for Keith Thurman to be the next great after Floyd Mayweather, right? A lot of us consider him to be, the king of 147 after Floyd left. That's just facts, bro. That's just facts. He put himself in position. This is something that he always talked about. This is something that he came off chomping off at the bit against everybody, wanting to fight every single body, right? This is what he did. This is what he did. And the fact that this man wants to sit here and tell us, no, we're not getting this fight with Errol Spence right now because I'm not ready. Now, I posted 2 videos, interviews of Keith Thurman talking about this fight with Errol Spence, right? I posted 2. And the 2 that I posted, the first one that I posted, it talked about Keith Thurman saying, it was immediately after the event that Showtime had put together, and it was Keith Thurman discussing his fight, them asking him, hey, are you going to fight Errol? We want to know, is the fight going to happen? What did he say? No, I'm not going to fight him, and this is something that can happen in the future. Now, I'm gonna play you all the footage of that, of Keith talking about him not being ready. And I want y'all to check this out, right? Because this is interesting to me. When you're a guy that's in position to be considered great in the sport of boxing, we know Keith Thurman's coming off an injury, but I'm gonna break this thing down to y'all because I don't think a lot of people really truly understanding what we got that's going on right here in the sport of boxing. Everybody want to say, oh well, Keith is hasn't been active and Spence been more active than he is and all this, that, and the third. This is crap. And I'm about sick and tired of it because as boxing fans and as supporters of the sport who buy the Showtime packages, who buy the HBO packages, who buy the pay-per-views, who try their best to support the sport, and you start to get guys who get in positions to where they don't want to defend or do anything when they feel as though they're not ready to. As if fans can't demand certain fights. And it don't even be the fact that fans can't demand certain fights. It just be the fact that this guy just chooses not to fight until he thinks he's ready. It would have been okay if I would have took from Keith Thurman. You know what, matter of fact, let me just go and see. Let me go to the clip and play the first clip, right? This is the first clip of Keith.
On the come up, though, Errol Spence, we saw him Saturday at Barclays Center. It was a dominant performance, and people are now salivating. You and he have them salivating. They want to see that fight. Are you going to torture us and make us wait, or are we going to see it at the end of 2018?
You're not going to see it at 18, baby. This is a get back year.
You're not.
Get back year. You're not going to be able to see it.
Are you serious? He said in 2018 we ain't going to get the fight, right? Then he came back again today and gave an excuse on why we ain't going to see it. Here you go.
And that's why it's not even in the near future. It's not discussable. That's not what's on the plate right now. When I was in New York, he said he's ready to fight me when I'm ready. Well, guess what? Honestly, I'm not ready.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? He said the fight ain't even in the near future. Not even in the near future. This is why we have problems with the sport of boxing. This is why we have issues in the sport of boxing. This is why every time boxing is getting ready to come back to the forefront, we have issues and drama like this. This is why people don't tune in, people don't purchase packages, people don't support the sport at all, period. It's because of stuff like this. When it's something that we want, we don't get at all, period. And it's sad. And the reason why it's sad is because of stuff like this. This is why it's sad. And I mean, as boxing fans, how do y'all feel? I need people to tell me how they feel about this situation right here at hand, because when you think about it, man, oh man, Keith Thurman right now, everybody knows you got you got 2 titles right now, but let me give you a reason why, and I'm gonna wait for a couple of more people to join in on this feed, because it's a couple of guys who I was talking to on today who was trying to make a defense for Keith Thurman when the stuff it is that they was coming out their mouth was just straight up bullshit, man. That's just what it was. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just exactly what it was. And the fact that that's what it was, as a fan of the game, this is stuff that we can't have in boxing. Like, we can't have this. You make your way all the way up to the mountaintop, and you mean to tell me that you don't defend your territory? All you young fighters that's in the game and you watch boxing, you mean to tell me that y'all sit here and talk all the time, I can't wait to get my time and my shot, and I'm ready for this and I'm ready for that or whatever. So now you had an opportunity, you in the limelight, you got guys gunning after you, you duck them. You talk different. When it's guys who you feel as though you can beat up and get easy W's on, you talk all the trash then. You talk all the trash. You tell them you'll beat them and this, that, and the third. You knock this guy out, knock this guy out. You talk all the trash. But then when it comes to Errol Spence, Keith Thurman starts speaking different. His whole lingo changes. He ain't even the same guy anymore who he was when he fought Danny Garcia. Go and look at some of the press videos of Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia. And look at how Keith Thurman treats Danny, how he talks shit to Danny, how he tries to get under Danny's skin, right? But then anytime we bring up, well, what about Errol Spence or whatever? I'm just not thinking about that fight right now. It's not on the table. It's not on the plate right now. Like, really, bro? Are you kidding me? Everybody want to talk about the injury and all this, that, and the third. Let me break something down for y'all. Keith Thurman fought Danny Garcia and unified the titles back in March. I believe it was March 3rd, March 16th. It was one of them. Back in March. 2 months later, Errol Spence fought Kell Brook for the IBF title. Errol Spence went on a mini layoff and did not fight again until the Lamont Peterson fight we just got here in January, on January the 20th. So that Errol Spence has been more active than Keith Thurman, that's bullshit. Errol Spence has not been more active than Keith Thurman because Errol Spence hasn't even been fighting. He's had his first fight this year. So he's allowing you to get a tune-up fight, maybe 1 or 2 tune-up fights, but I say 1 tune-up fight because you've been off for a whole entire year. You get a tune-up fight with Vargas, we'll give you that. So that means while you getting your tune-up fight with Vargas, Spence is going to be defending his title against his mandatory. So yes, Spence will have 2 fights. But then guess what? You could fight again in July if you Keith Thurman for your second fight. So that gives you 2 tune-ups, and then Spence will have 2 fights. And y'all meet again in December and close out the year for the unification bout. But you tell us, no, we can't get that. You sit here and say you want to defend your titles. This year, it's all about you defending your WBA and your WBC, but you don't want to unify with the IBF? Are you kidding me right now, man? And people wonder why boxing is the way it is. People try to come up with millions of excuses. Like, let me give y'all something. Let me read something that somebody said something to me today when we talk about stuff like this. This fight right here in particular. Somebody told me, this is what I had posted. I said, I don't even know where to begin, what kind of attitude is for this champion. This garbage, I don't give a fuck about his injury. If you listen to his interviews, he make it sound like he hasn't fought in a decade or something. Keith Thurman is like 28 or 29 years old, in his prime, won't take him long to shake off any ring rust he may have or may not have. If anything, after one tune-up, he should be more fresh than Errol Spence because he had less wear and tear on his body by being less active and taking less punishment. And what I mean by less active, that means not training, not being in a gym. Because after he unified with Danny, what did Keith do? He flees the country. He goes and get married. He spends all this time posting, stuff about him finding himself and reading, and he's in just this deep trance or whatever the case may be, or whatever, on living free and all this, that, and the third. Okay, you done that, Keith. You done that. Now it's time to get back on the grind. But you don't want to get on the grind at all, period. He don't want to get on the grind. He's more worried about cherry picking. To be honest with you, he's more worried about cherry picking fights than actually putting together fights that people want to see. We want to see you versus Errol Spence, Keith. We want to see you unify the division. We want to see you being that one time who was calling out everybody at one time. But no, we ain't getting that. No. You want to speak different when it comes to Errol Spence. What is it that you're afraid of, Keith? I really want to know. What is it that Keith Thurman is actually afraid of? Is it because he knows if he fight Errol Spence that he know he can lose that fight? Literally. Because the only way you duck and dodge somebody is if you know something that we don't know. That's just being real. He knows something that we don't know, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's just what I think it is. I think he just ain't going to tell us exactly what it is we want to know. But what he is going to do is beat around the bush every time a question comes up about Errol Spence. But this is good, though, because you want to know why? Everybody is going to be talking about why you're not fighting Errol Spence this year. Keith is going to hear this for a long time. Just like they tried to make Floyd hear about Pacquiao. And see, it was a difference between Floyd and Pacquiao. A lot of people want to say, well, if Floyd would have fought Pacquiao in his prime, Floyd would have lost. But I tell y'all this. Think about this now. If you're a real true boxing expert or hardcore fan, you will know that if Floyd fought Manny Pacquiao during the time Manny Pacquiao was being considered great, Floyd would have still beat Manny Pacquiao. Floyd just never gets the credit that he deserves being a great defensive fighter. The same way they fought just a couple of years ago, it would have been the same exact fight when they fought the first time. It would have been the same exact thing. But obviously, in this case, when it comes to Keith Thurman, it's different now. Oh, it's different. Jelani said he's scared. Jelani, bro, I agree with you wholeheartedly. He's scared. He's afraid because he knows he had one chance. Look, he became a unified champion in a division. And now the opportunity for you to get more titles, you do a derivative and go the opposite way and sit here and say, oh, it's not on the table at all this year. I just don't want that fight at all. It's just not happening at all anytime in the future. Now, that's why I had a problem when he said anytime in the future, the fight is just not happening. It's not on the plate. It's not on my plate. Well, what's on your plate, Keith Thurman? Vargas? Vargas is on your plate? What does Vargas have that's going to benefit you? What do he have? Who else in the division has anything that's going to benefit you? Because if you don't, after you fight Vargas and you go and fight another scrub, now we all know, okay, then now Keith Thurman's cherry picking. Shout out to my boy James Dominguez. What up, James? What's going on, man? I'm sitting here really going in on Keith Thurman and the stuff it is that he's been saying as of late as it pertains to Errol Spence. I have a problem with it, man. I really do. I got a problem with it. And the reason why I got a problem with it is because stuff like this is what we don't need in boxing. We don't need that. Because right now, boxing is, and we all know, everybody want to say, well, Keith, you know, he's coming off this injury and all this, that, and the third. Who cares? Don't nobody care about that. This man is healthy. He's healthy. He's good to go. If he wasn't good to go, then he wouldn't be fighting a tune-up fight. He'll still be out on the injury list. But he's good to go. So after your tune-up fight, that's what I'm saying. It's not as if Spence done had 4 or 5 fights, you know, more than Keith Thurman. That's what people failing to realize. Spence was on a layoff after he beat Kell Brook just 2 months after Keith Thurman unified. They both been off the rest of the year, 2017. James said he's scared. I agree. I agree with you and Jelani. He is absolutely scared. He's fearful. You can see it in his eyes. The man, I never seen somebody, and it's a fighter in particular, I kid you not, it's a fight in particular that he was talking like mad trash on, right? He was just calling this guy out, talking all this trash. Like I said, it was he did it to Danny Garcia, right? He did it to Danny, and he was just talking like mad trash to Danny. Like, I'm talking about cussing the man out, all this, that, and the third, or whatever the case may be. But then it all changed, right? Like, go back and look at the Leonard Bundu, like videos of him and Leonard Bundu before they fought, when he was talking all that trash to Leonard Bundu, or go back when before he fought Soto Carras, when he was talking that trash to Soto Carras, or when he was fighting Luis Collazo, he was talking that trash to Collazo. But now you got a guy who's coming for you. You switch up, and that's why I said that's where I have the problem with Keith. He done switched up. But you know, I guess this is what we have in front of us, right? We got a guy who is scared to face another guy to unify. So obviously, I don't know what it is Spence got to do at this point. If you ask me. If Thurman ain't gonna fight, then guess what? If you're Errol Spence, this is what you do. After Terrence Crawford fights Jeff Horn, right? And you defend and have your mandatory. Give us Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence at the end of the year for unification. And then once Spence gets Terrence Crawford title, or you know, however that works out. I mean, I'm picking Spence in that fight. That's just me personally over Terrence Crawford, and I like Terrence Crawford, but I'm picking Spence in the fight. But at the same time, I'm thinking that's just what we need to get at the end of the year. That's just what's best, because Keith Thurman just X'd himself out. I don't care about, listen, the tune-up fight is okay, but anything outside of that, don't nobody give a damn about with Keith Thurman. Who cares who else you fight next? Because for one, you ain't finna go and unify with nobody else in the division. You're not gonna go and fight Terrence Crawford right now if you're not gonna fight Errol Spence. So what is it that we have left as a fan? What do we want to see next? Since we know we're not getting this. He needs 2 warm-up fights. See, but Nick Delgado, this is what you gotta check out. This is what you gotta listen to. You say he needs 2 warm-up fights, right? Well, check this out. He gets his warm-up fight, his first tune-up, right? He gets his first tune-up. And Spence has to turn around and fight again when? In June. So after Spence fights again in June, Spence will be ready to fight again because he said he wants to fight 3 times this year. He'll be ready to fight again at the end of the year. So Keith Thurman can go ahead and have his tune-up fight now and then have another fight on top of that in July and come right back around at the end of the year and fight in a unification bout with Errol Spence. Why can't that happen? One layoff to injury, bro. Like you must have just like hopped in this video because I just told y'all how this thing has played out. This man unified with Danny Garcia March 3rd. Kell Brook and Errol Spence fought May 27th, 2017. All this is in 2017. Errol Spence did not fight again until January the 20th. Keith Thurman is not fighting again until after Errol Spence. They both been on a layoff, bro. They both been on a layoff. If that's what y'all consider layoff, they both been on a layoff. Then